Hi there everyone, we're back again today and we're going to be learning about the rib stitch. So all that means is that we're going to be knitting and then purling in rows. So here I'm going to do a 2x2 knit because that is the type of rib that we're going to be using for the coffee cup holders. So here I did 2 knit stitches, here I'm doing 2 purl stitches in the same row without turning the work. And that is all that a knit stitch is. That's all that a rib stitch is that you're doing knit, purl, and you'll hear terms like 2x2, like I just said, so that's 2 knit and 2 purl. But you can also do a 4x4. There's also 1x1 if you want a tinier rib knit rows. And so what that's going to give you is a nice stretchy fabric because of the extra surface area that's contained in the stitch from bringing the working yarn from the back to the front or vice versa within the same side and within the same row. So it's not that apparent right now. It looks a little bit messy when you first start, but let's go ahead and complete the second row. So you can see that I have knit stitches here. You want to be knitting in the same. So that just means, and here you can see an example of rib knit. You guys probably already have seen this in hoodies and sweaters and things like that. It's often used for the cuff, like a stretchy cuff of sweaters and things that are commercially made like this one. And it also kind of ensures that you can get your hand through the cuff without stretching it out or having to unbutton it. So going back to this rib knit swatch, we had knit stitches, so we knitted in them, and we have purl stitches next, so we're purling in them. And this is nice because you don't actually have to pay that much attention once you know what the knitting and purling stitches look like within the row. This is a good way to train your eye to look for the V of the knit and the bump of the purl stitches. And I know that I'm doing 2x2, so I'm kind of just speeding through this row. I want you to see what a hand knitted rib looks like because it does look a tiny bit different than a commercially done knitted garment. And I'm just going to complete another row here. So 2 knit, 2 purl, 2 knit, 2 purl. And again, this is just a 2x2 rib. So I'm clocking right along here. And this illustrates a basic concept of knitted fabric. So I mentioned in one of the other videos that alternating knit and purl stitches on the same side of a work instead of just doing all knit on one side and all purl on the other side, that makes different stitch patterns. So this is a rib, but there's such a thing as seed stitch, where you knit purl, and then you shift it over, so you purl knit, and then there's also garter stitch, which is you knit one row, then you turn it, and then you knit another row so that the purl stitches show. Think of it like stripes of purl stitches, and it's a reversible fabric. So seed stitch and garter stitch are things that you're going to commonly see. The reason is because rib knit, seed stitch, and garter stitch are all stitch patterns that lay flat. So if you notice, this is not curling up like our stockinette swatch. And the reason for that is that when you have purl stitches and knit stitches, you can kind of see that they force the fabric to lay in almost like a curly, like a wavy way. And they kind of force the edge of the knitting back down. So you don't really need to do anything. You don't need to do blocking, which is just soaking the knitted piece in water, shaping it, and then letting it dry. You don't need to do that. on these stitches for that purpose anyway. Blocking helps with evening out your stitch tension. So if you notice that something is looking a little wonky, like you can't quite put your finger on it at first, but it's got space in it, I guess, that it doesn't look like it should be there, or the stitches are, some of them are a bit loose and some of them are tighter. Soaking it, laying it flat to dry, and then reshaping it. Sometimes you can pin it in shape onto like another piece of a towel or something. People use those foam mats that they use in kindergarten for the kids and things to just put the pins into the knitted piece. That is something that will help with stockinette curling. When you reshape it and then you dry it, it'll lay a lot flatter, and the stitch tension will be a lot more consistent because you've distributed it evenly using the water and just the reshaping of the piece. So here you can see what the 2x2 rib looks like. I did a little bit of a different cast on for this. I did a knitted cast on, or I did a rib cast on where you knit and purl on the, when you're making the cast on row. That's not something that I think is terribly necessary for the coffee cup holders, and it might just confuse you, so I didn't include that. And then here you can see our stockinette swatch that I knitted before in the other videos, and it's stretchy, but it's not as stretchy, and you can see that the piece is curling on itself and I can't quite straighten it out. So the rib is already laying flat even though I haven't even bound off yet, and so that's really the main point that I wanted to illustrate, is that with just knit and purl stitches you can make different styles of fabric and you can do different things with that. So I'll see you guys in the next video, and don't forget to use the hashtag knitwithawitch to tag any questions, progress shots, and other hype that you want me to see on Instagram. And if you have other questions or want to chat with your classmates, you can join the Discord server that I have set up on the channel, and then you can also post in the Facebook discussion. Thank you guys so much, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye-bye.